The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Quirky Dog Podcast, inspired by some of the quirkiest dogs you can ever imagine and the owners who love them. This podcast is brought to you by the quirky couple themselves, Scott and Jess Williams. Their aim is to educate and entertain. Here's Scott and Jess.
Welcome, guys, and happy Wednesday and Merry Christmas. If you are joining us here today, thank you so much for spending your Christmas with us. We are so honored, and we have our friend Dave on here because we love being with Dave, and Christmas is good when you're spending it with loved ones.
Happy Hanukkah.
Yes.
Happy Kwanzaa.
Yes, joyous
What else we
Kwanzaa,
got?
all the goods.
What's that one that Tom did?
Winter solstice. That's already passed. All right, we're going to start with the Quirky Tip of the Day before we give you guys a show of celebration. And our Quirky Tip today is we are keeping in the theme of giving back, you guys. I actually got word of this rescue from our in-person client, Corinne. Thank you so much for that, Corinne. Brother Wolf is a shelter down in Asheville, North Carolina, totally wiped out by Hurricane Helene. Big issue. I put a donation link in the show notes in the theme of giving back that we've been doing all month. If you can, please give back to them. They are building back, and they have saved over 100,000 animals since 2007. Wow. How amazing is that? So if you have, even just $5 will help, donate to them today. That would be a great thing to do. So we are here having a celebration. It's the end of 2024. We have Dave here. And the funniest part of this is a week from today will be New Year's 2025. And 5 years to the day, Scott had his very first cigar, and now he's hook, line, and sinker.
Now I'm a regular.
First one's on the house, and then that's it, right?
No wonder they banned cigars on social media.
Here we go.
No, but it's amazing. It's been such a journey. And I got to tell you, did you guys just have your 1,000th episode?
Yes.
That is insane.
Crazy.
The Cigar Authority, I saw that the other day. I'm like, it's unfathomable. I mean, you guys have been going at this for so long. And to be honest, I started scrolling through some old episodes a few weeks ago because I'm like, we need topics. So we did, should you fire your dog trainer? The 7 deadly sins of a dog owner. I just took them right off. I'm like, these are good titles. Dave comes up with good stuff.
How many hours is your average episode?
2 hours.
So you got 2,000 hours of backlog.
That was a big mistake first going because I didn't know. And I said, okay, we'll do the show and it's 2 hours. And the answer is drive time. That's what you want a show to be, right? It's 20, 25 minutes. If you want to say drive time there and back or something, you go a 40-minute show or something. But I didn't know when I made it 2 hours. And we did lots of advertising content within it. Mm-hmm. So there was no turning back after that ended up happening, and we still do it.
Well, that's what Joe Rogan did, too. He said he did like a 3-hour thing, and everyone said, that's way too long. He said, I don't care.
You're
I don't care if nobody listens. I'm going to talk.
We worked out well for him.
That's what they did.
Well, you guys, too. People listen. They tune in. We love to see you pop up on Saturdays. So if you don't already watch The Cigar Authority, check them out, you guys. Amazing show and 1,000 episodes. All the congrats to Dave.
Thank you.
Oh, my gosh.
You. Very, very niche, but we like it anyway.
And low turnover with the people within the podcast also. You've had like the same guys almost from the very beginning.
Yes.
A long time.
Yeah.
And nice. A lot of the same audience, every once in a while, one of them pops in to see, and I've been, watching the show for 10 to 15 years or something. I'm like, wow, holy mackerel.
They've been at it the whole 1,000. All right, so Dave has some questions for us, but I'm going to kick it off here with just a little roundtable discussion. What's our biggest lesson of 2024? So, babe, what is your biggest lesson from 2024?
Don't get the flu.
Yes.
I had the flu last week. Jess was here without me, and it was rough. It was worse than COVID. I mean, I've had COVID. It was like 3 days of aches and pains.
But you bounced back quick. I had it for a month.
Well, I got the Tamiflu.
Okay.
Jess got me, because Jess got it first. She went to the doctor, and the doctor said, well, if you had come earlier, I could have given you Tamiflu. And she said, well, my husband's home. He doesn't have it yet. So I got that prescription. I started eating an antiviral right from the first day.
I'm up here with a bunch of old men. He had the flu. Dave had walking pneumonia. Yeah. It was a whole to-do. But Dave's on the up and up, too.
I'm good now. I feel 100%.
What was your biggest takeaway from 2024, Dave?
Wow. I don't know. as I get older, it flies so fast. I just can't believe that we're at the end of the year and I'm not even near complete things I want to accomplish and things like that. But I look forward to the future. I'll tell you that. It was rough. The economy was the roughest part for everybody. Going into the supermarket and you just see a woman in the carriage with her kid and, basically counting as it's going on. You feel so bad or whatever. So things
kid wants a cigar. You can't have it. You can't afford it.
Yeah, I'm into disposable income money and stuff. I'm feeling it. There's no doubt about it. So hopefully brighter days are ahead.
Yeah.
We have to worry about food and we have to worry about energy, right? We need low price energy, including home heating oil and things like that, and food. It doesn't have to be cigars, and they could be high, and nobody needs it. But the things we have to have.
Yeah, affordable eggs is good.
Yeah.
All right, my biggest lesson. I'll jump in here. Fingers matter, you guys. I am so grateful for how much my finger has progressed over the year. But be very careful of your appendages and your fingers and everything else. The dog bite I suffered greatly from, but we are on the up and up, and I'm very grateful for that. So be grateful for every working part you have at every moment of the year.
And I will
my
say,
takeaway.
speaking of gratitude, and I mentioned this to a client, and she thought I was odd, but when I was sick last week, really feeling terrible, and it was the middle of the night, it was pouring, raining out, and I'm in a nice warm bed in a warm house under the blankets with a woman that's whatever I need, she's right there to help. You need anything else? That's what I thought. I'm sick as hell, and I thought, God, I'm so lucky.
I said this to you the first time I met you. You're a lucky man.
Gratitude is important. All right, so Dave brought questions. I don't know what the heck they are, but we'll just roll with it. It's Christmas. Let's have a little celebration.
We'll bang them out. Here are my top 7 challenging questions about dog training. Just a sentence or two to see what your answer is. What is the most common mistake made during training and how to avoid them?
I would say one of the most common mistakes is people babying or trying to comfort their dogs at the wrong time. The dog is feeling some insecurity, and they're like, oh, it's okay, and they're making the insecurity worse.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's better to say less,
And this is for people, too.
Yeah.
It's the same deal.
You can make a big deal out of nothing.
Yeah.
The dog's a little nervous about something, and then it's okay. And now the dog's like, what's wrong with you? There must be something terrible going on.
It seems like Scott almost watched my 7 Deadly Sins episode.
So I see, a little kid falls down. And the kid falls down and he's okay. And then the mother comes over, oh my God, are you okay? Then the kid starts crying.
Yes, the
so
reaction.
Look what just happened.
Yes.
It's only a little.
Yeah.
So they don't know. And the same thing happens there.
I'm going to weigh in on this one because I have a different answer. I would say not pushing past the hard point with training. So a lot of people, they'll train. It's kind of like when you're at the gym. When it's easy, it's fun. And then when it gets hard and it really sucks and your heart rate has to get up and your muscles are hurting, you may back off. And that happens sometimes in dog training too. People want to kind of roll over when it gets tough. But
and when
if
you're
you
older,
work through that, it's
for
good.
the dog itself, so that's enough. I don't want to.
Yeah, the dog. Yeah, they don't want to push the dog past this barrier. But that's when you get the real strength. That's when you get the real understanding. So work through the hardships and training is important.
Yeah, no, I see that all the time. Where I'll go to the house and help them teach the dog to get on the bed, and I'll say, okay, do this for a week. I'll see you next week, and I'll text, how's it going? The dog refuses the bed. The dog rejects the bed. What are you talking about? I mean, everything was smooth. The dog looks at them and goes, nope. And they go, oh, I guess he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And then they never get anywhere.
No.
So, and the other reason that it's a little bit easier for us, I think, is having worked with thousands of dogs.
Of course.
We know, well, the dog's a little unhappy now, a little this, that. It's a learning curve. He needs to work through it. But if you haven't done it before, you think, maybe I'm doing something wrong.
That's why you get a professional to do it, because
maybe
it's everybody's first time and it's your 1,000th time.
Yeah.
So do what we say.
Yeah.
What is your progress of diagnosing and addressing deeply ingrained behavior issues like aggression and severe anxiety, especially anxiety?
So it's pretty much all we deal with, and they're closely related.
Because they only bring you the bad ones.
Yeah, but it's going back to the basics. It's getting the dog secure in its own skin, showing the dog some structure, and then having that message relayed to the owners. And really, you just kind of want to stop the behavior in the tracks. And people think, oh, barking out the window isn't a big deal, but barking out the window escalates into more of a problem and can become a bite. So the quicker that you can intervene and the quicker that you can kind of get that dog's head just kind of coming back to earth and not going to the red zone, I think is a big one. What would you say about aggression and anxiety, babe?
Well, like you mentioned, put some control, and it doesn't have to mean pressure, but something as simple as putting a leash on your dog in the house. That never occurs to anybody. They associate the leash with, we're going outside. As soon as they come in the door, they take the leash off. I'm like, hey, leave the leash on. Let them drag it around a little bit. Because if then the dog jumps on your couch, as an example of something you don't want, it's easy to just pick up the leash and give him some direction off the couch. Or if the dog wants to jump on people, you can stop that. You don't have to correct the dog, but just don't let them get to the person to jump on the,
basic
by
management.
holding the leash,
Yeah.
Some management like that, using some crating, things like that.
Okay. How do you train a dog to respond positively to commands in high distraction environments? So there's lots of people running around, and now you want to do it, but he's paying attention to kids running around and all the distractions that are happening at a Christmas party, maybe. And there's your dog in there.
I think it's a good question. Nice question, Steve.
There we go.
Is this AI? Did you AI this?
No.
One of the biggest problems I see with that type of situation, the dog is not working well under distraction. Most of the time, they don't demand anything of the dog without distraction. They never tell the dog to do anything until there's a big problem, and now they're trying to get the dog to do something.
But as training, they're not. When they're doing the training,
well,
they're outside, nobody's around.
There needs to be consequence.
You need to introduce distractions in a controlled setting with your dog, training, knowing he has a problem with this. But you don't have to overload him to the point where he's over threshold, completely disconnected from you, lunging and barking and pulling on the end of the leash.
So stay, and then somebody throws a ball, and he's still got to stay.
Right.
Yeah, but there has to be consequence if he breaks, and that doesn't mean that you have to throw a pinch collar on your dog and start popping him around with it. But
although it helps,
sometimes it can. But you can do something as simple as just reach for their collar, bring them back, place them again, and consequence, and then massive reward. When the dog does good stuff, you want to reward him too. People so often have things go unnoticed at a big Christmas party. The dog made a great choice. It didn't eat off the coffee table, and nobody does anything because the dog's not bothering them.
And to add to that distraction that you mentioned, which was a great one in the beginning where you toss a ball, and if the dog is a real crazy ball dog, that's a big distraction. But limiting the size of the mistake and not allowing the dog to self-reward when you're trying to train them. And what I mean is, if you say sit, stay, you throw the ball and he breaks and gets the ball, he just rewarded himself for not listening to you. So something as simple as having a leash on him.
Or someone else can cover the ball for you.
Some way that even if he makes the mistake and runs for that ball, he doesn't pick it up and then do the big run around the yard, big party. We want to stop him from having fun doing stuff we don't want him to be doing at that particular time. And then vice versa, when he sits and stays, reward him with the ball. Free, go get it, have fun.
How do you ensure consistency in training when multiple family members are involved with the dog's care? So I'm doing the right thing, but I bring him home, and then my wife jumps in and says, no, he's okay, he can jump up here.
This is a big one, and we did an episode, and it was basically everybody doesn't have to be on the same page, and I actually think that's verbatim what the title was. And we very much feel that way because there's a lot of marital conflict. There's a lot of conflict with the kids. Nope. And at the end of the day, you really need to just live and let live. If you have certain rules for that dog is going to listen to your rules. And maybe there's 1 or 2 house rules that everyone follows. Like you can't let the dog out the door without, waiting or something else. There's some strong house rules, maybe 2 or 3. But otherwise, the dog's smart enough to know, this person means business, this person doesn't. And we're fine about if your spouse wants to allow jumping, no problem, but you make sure that you step in and you don't allow jumping with you or when you're holding the leash. And it works for us,
I would say the exception to that is if there's aggression issues.
Yeah.
And let's say there's a territorial component where the dog bites the mailman. So when you're home, you say, okay, when mailman's coming, this dog's going to be in a crate, or he's not allowed to be outside. I'm going to make sure of that. When you're at work, you don't want your kids letting the dog outside and then running and biting the mailman. So there has to be some protocols in place so that he doesn't get himself in trouble.
Yeah, so you got to talk to the whole family and say, we don't do this.
Well, yeah, they have to understand, listen, the consequences for the family. If you let the dog do this, we have to get rid of the dog. We got to put the damn dog down.
Right.
Do you want that?
Right.
No.
It's not.
Okay. Well, we got to make some,
So threaten.
No, but they have to understand that this dog we're doing it for the dog's sake,
He's part of the family.
Yeah, we don't
all
want
have to be family here, including the dog.
We don't want to lose him.
Yep.
And you had an aggressive dog at one time,
Yes.
and you had to deal with all that stuff.
And
It's not easy.
Akita, it was brutal.
Yeah, it's not easy.
And took him to places to try to break him, but it was the same thing that we went back, and I was, okay, I'm going to stay strong on this, but my wife, who was home all the time with him, broke down a little bit,
Yeah.
and this is her buddy
Yeah.
or whatever, and never aggressive with her. And I'd be like, we got to stay on this.
Yeah.
Oh, and, never mind bringing the child in, and then the child says, oh, that's okay, I'm not going to stop anything. It's teamwork here.
And sometimes it's the wrong dog for the household.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are getting some really strong breeds that they just like the look of the dog.
Yeah,
They think the dog is going to protect them, but then the dog winds up trying to protect everybody, and there's problems.
Yeah, and I liked the dog. I was she was in a mall. She saw a dog. Oh, my God, it was the cutest thing. She said it to me, I bought it for Christmas. And I surprised her and came home with it and did no research of an Akita.
And those Akita puppies are cute.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
friggin' awesome.
Yeah.
They really are.
He had big paws, and he looked like a bear, and he was so
Yeah.
cute and everything, but he grew into a maniac.
Yeah.
And we let him grow into a maniac, and then when he got too far, there was no going backwards.
Hard to reel him back in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we kept him for his whole life, but
A lot of management.
yeah, nobody,
stress.
nobody can come over,
Yeah.
and oh my God, it was a crazy story. It's a whole show.
Yeah.
What role does, and we're talking about diet a little while ago, but what role does a dog's diet play in behavior and training outcomes? Does food of how he's eating properly?
It can play a role in the dog's behavior, certainly.
It can. I
it's
think
not-
it's
no,
over. I think
when
it's over exaggerated how
When I
much
say
of a role.
that, there's a myth that if you feed your dog raw meat, it's going to make him aggressive. That's a myth. It's ridiculous. But that's kind of what people think about. Oh, if I feed him now, maybe if you sprinkle gunpowder on the meat. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
But really, that's a myth. But I was thinking more like. You could have behavioral problems tied into maybe some allergies, where the dog is maybe allergic to a poultry or something that's in the food. So he's itching a lot. He's chewing on his feet. He's doing things.
Off the table food?
No.
it's kibble,
Right in the
kibble.
dog food. If it's they all have a protein, but if it's a poultry-based protein, some dogs have trouble with that. So that's something right away that I would say if your dog's, itchy all the time, that's the first thing I would say. What's he eating?
Yeah.
Maybe change the diet, because people are the same way. So, if some things don't agree with us, we eat it makes us uncomfortable, or we have in digestive problems or whatever.
I wonder if the dog food companies, much like the cereal companies from back in the day, telling you, you should have cereal every morning, and this was good for you.
Most of them make several different types of proteins because they want to give everybody an option to make sure they buy their products. So you can have a bison as a protein, you can have chicken, you can have salmon,
All right,
a
so
fish.
we have an option.
Oh, yeah.
And you can, aggression and energy levels can definitely be tied into diet, but honestly, for the most part, I feel like it's an overused excuse, and a lot of the times it just boils down to structure and control and just getting that dog to know that he has some boundaries.
And yeah, quite often sometimes like the diet can be, it's a way of not holding yourself accountable for the dog's behavior. Oh, it's something he ate.
Yeah.
It's, you know what I mean? It's external stuff that's
But he's
making,
not going to the store buying it. He's
No.
eating what you are supplying, period. That's it.
Yeah.
So there's nobody to blame but yourself.
And if you go to the vet, they're a lot of times they're going to say, well, we can start testing for allergies. And then they go through this long protocol. It could be months where they're putting different, what do they do?
Needles.
Put stuff on the skin to see if it irritates, just like with
Yeah,
us
yeah.
checking for allergies.
Blood tests, yeah.
And quite often in
I've
the
been
end,
there. I've been there with the dog too.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I had into the second dog after, which was a lab, and let's check him for allergies. And oh my God,
Yeah, he could go on
rack up-
forever.
Oh,
Just keep going and
never
going.
ended.
Yeah.
I
And in
said,
the end,
what
you're in
a
the same
racket
boat.
this is. Yeah, nothing ended up changing and changing the diet all the time anyway, and it never stopped. Okay, 6 out of 7, number 6.
slow down.
All right. How do you measure the success of a training program? So they're doing it. How do you know when it's over? Or is it never over?
It's a good question, I think, because I need to not decide that based on what I think is a well-trained dog. It's about, are you happy
Yeah.
with your dog
That's my
since
answer,
I've been
too.
coming
Yeah.
and
Okay.
helping you with your dog? Did we address the original issues of why you called me? I don't care if the dog doesn't sit and stay. How do you feel now we've been working with
Yeah.
him? Because no dog is perfect, and training can go on ideally for the whole life of the dog. But pick your battles and what is important. Some people just say, I just want the dog to come when called. I'd love
Yeah.
to have him off leash and go on the trails.
My
Okay.
policeman friend, you met him
Yeah.
before, so his dog is looking for guns and ammunition and bombs, basically. and it never ends.
Yeah.
Every single time he feeds that dog, every single time.
He's working, yeah.
He has to work to feed. He has to hide it, and all this thing has to happen, and it never ends. And I go, when do you do it? He says, when they retire the dog, I could just put the food in the dish, but never, because it's not his.
Yeah.
It's his to live with all the time. But
That's a lot of responsibility for the handler.
Yes.
It's tough because I knew some handlers that had the bed bug dogs, and they were feeding them for finding bed bugs, finding bed bugs. And if they wanted to go on vacation, they couldn't leave the dog at a kennel. They had to have the dog with someone that knew, even if it's going to be a very simple search, the dog has to do a little search and then he gets his dinner.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, so that's like you got to get someone that knows what's going on there.
Yeah,
it's a lot of responsibility.
Poor guy, it never ended. I'm like,
Yeah, it
when
just
does
never
this stop?
ends.
He goes, no, it never does. And,
Yeah.
But not for regular dogs. You got to accomplish what you need to get accomplished. And, you know, is there a time, okay, I'm happy, and then the dog stays that way, or it's
Never
time for-
stays there.
There's always maintenance, but I
Maintenance,
would
yes.
add to yes, the owner, we want the owner to be happy, but we also look at the stability of the dog. So if the owner's super happy, but we can see that the dog is like cuckoo, crazy, yah-yah in its mind, we're still trying to help the owner, you know, do different protocols and do different exercises to just get that dog to decompress. Because once the dog's stress level is lower and the owner's stress level is lower, I'd say that's kind of like the golden ticket. But it's just like working out or anything else. You're going to have to maintain things. You don't just hit a certain weight and a certain muscle tone and then keep it, especially as you get older. The dog's going to need some maintenance. You're going to need to do some leg work. And that's just the nature of the beast. And hopefully people enjoy working with their dog. That's our goal.
And most people don't enjoy working with the dog. I mean, it's novel, so it's fun in the beginning. It's something new. And when they see results, they're very excited to see the dog actually getting better.
Yeah.
But then I tell everyone, this is what's going to happen. When I'm going to come, the dog knows nothing. We're going to see a lot of success right away. This dog is going to start doing stuff for you, and it's going to be cool. And then when he starts working well, your priorities are going to shift. Now your kid's in trouble doing stuff. He's not doing his homework. Now you're going to be focusing on that problem. And now you're meeting with teachers, and you're getting your kid straightened out. Next thing you know, the dog is getting crazy again. So it's just, you want to touch everything just a little bit every day.
So should there be like a yearly maintenance, couple weeks or something that happens?
Ideally, it would be nice if there was like a monthly check-in.
Okay.
Most people don't do it.
Or even
They-
every
they-
other month or something.
Yeah,
and the
but
one thing with us, the people that have gone through the board and train program, they'll board their dogs with us again over the holidays and stuff when they go away, just for us to watch them. But it's kind of like a refresher just to get the dog back in the game if some things have slipped too. So
And I will say sometimes, or quite often, when the dog has a problem like your dog did, that's really a serious thing, like with aggression or this or that, people are better about when they see that success, they don't want to go back to the way it was before. So they maintain it a lot better than if it was just, oh, he's crazy and he runs around and jumps on everybody. And that's not the end of the world. They'd rather it not happen. They get embarrassed. They don't want their friends to get jumped on. And they'll work on it, but it'll slip. It's more likely for those kind of things to slip because it's just not high priority in the owner's mind.
But
You know,
once they
and we're
reap the
talking
big-
over years. You know?
once they reap the big rewards, they like that payback.
Yeah, they like to see the dog, you know, being part of the family and not being an idiot.
So why isn't there an annual checkup, or at the very least, or something that to happen? It should be
Well, I think because it costs money.
okay.
And so people, you know, you get back and such, hey, you know, it'd be good to come in and do a little maintenance. And like, everything's great. He's doing good. You know, that's quite often.
Till he's not, though,
Right. Then they,
because it's a lot easier to fix teeny little things than.
well, it's about pain. Pain is the motivator.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, he's good right now. And then, oh, he ate this. We just had to have surgery to get this out of his intestines.
Yes.
We need you to come back and give us a hand with this issue.
Yeah, you're going to pay now or pay later, right?
Right.
So
Yeah,
That's-
and
it
it's
is.
the preventative mindset. A lot of people, you know, are being more conscientious of diet before health issues hit. They're being more conscientious of, you know, their body image and everything just for health reasons. So if you have this preventative mindset and you kind of want to be ahead of the curveball, that's great. But for the most part, us as Americans, we're not always in that headspace. We're waiting, like Scott said, until there's a pain point, and then we act.
Or if they have a baby, a new child in the house, they want this to
Environmental
work real
change,
bad
yeah.
because the dog was the baby before the human baby came.
Sure.
So now they're like, holy smokes, I mean, my dog is like funny. We want to make sure the dog isn't going to be aggressive with the kid. And they want that to work. So, and the kid, as the kid grows, the kid is becoming more of a distraction to the dog. In the beginning, he lays
Grabbing
there.
the tail and pulling
Then
out.
he's crawling around. He's in the
Yes.
crate with the dog. He's
Yeah.
eating out of the dog's bowl when he's,
Yes.
you know, 12 months old.
Yes.
And you're like, hey, come on away from the bowl. You know, so that's an ongoing thing where people are more diligent about or vigilant about watching the dog, watching the kid, trying to make sure the dog has a fair life and the kid can enjoy the dog also.
How about gearing up the dog for the pregnant woman who's got to have the baby?
We do that a lot.
Happens a lot.
Okay.
They're calling then. They're calling then because they're prepping for the baby. They're in the preventative mindset.
In fact, they wait so long that they call us to do training when she's in labor.
Oh.
That's like, oh, Mike, we had a
Take
dog.
your time. I hope it's a long labor
We had
because
a
we're
dog
going to
come
need a
in.
few.
They're like, we're going to have the baby on this date. We need to get the dog trained. I'm like, okay, let's get him in here.
And is there, I had heard this story. I don't know if there's any truth to it. You bring the blanket from the hospital back. And
all that kind of stuff can work. It can work. But mostly just preparing the dog for the chaos. Like the baby's going to be up in the middle of the night crying. Start crating the dog so it understands that it's maybe not going to be able to sleep in the bed every night when, the mother's there nursing, everything else. Playing babies crying in the house sounds crazy, but desensitize the dog to this stuff because it's stressors that the dog isn't used to.
Sure.
Does desensitize the husband, too.
And does the dog ever take the role of, okay, I'm the masculine one here, I'm the boss, and you're paying attention to,
there's jealousy, stuff and all that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And it's just about being able to say, hey, go lay down over there, go get on your bed, off the couch. If you have that kind of control of the dog, you're going to get on top of that stuff real quickly. But if there's these power struggles and we see it and people reach out and they say, like, I don't like the way the dog's interacting with the kid, we got to fix this. But it all goes back to the dog. Do you have rules and things that the dog you can implement on a daily basis to keep that baby safe?
Yeah, and I tell people all the time, baby or not, but the baby certainly will help motivate them to actually follow through, but to not make the dog the center of attention all the time. I have people that have never left their dog alone. Either the one spouse stays with the dog, the other one leaves, vice versa. They have to call someone to come in and sit with the dog because they both need to go somewhere because the dog can't be alone because, especially now with people working from home so much.
Well, now he can't because you never let him be alone.
Yeah.
It should be something early.
And then when a kid comes into the picture, like now they have no problem saying, I don't have time for the dog. I need you to do something with the dog because the baby is now all of a sudden
is going to be the center of
high
attention.
Priority.
We have a podcast for this too, preparing for a baby, I think.
Yeah, I think that was our problem with our Akita going in. That was our baby.
Yeah.
And when our baby was born, it seemed to get worse at that point because all the attention was off
Shifting.
of the it shifted.
So he's demanding, hey, pay attention to me.
And that was when the barking started. We didn't even know we had a voice until after that. And then he started screaming out and acting wrong and was
You're like,
so
what the
far
hell is
gone.
this?
My
Yeah.
God, far gone. Okay, my last question is, how does someone hire you? How does that process end up happening?
Good question. So our in-person business is Beyond the Leash. We work with everyone from Maine to New Hampshire to Mass. People drive in from Connecticut and New York sometimes. It's crazy, our service area at times. And the first step is Scott meets the dog. I mean, we need to have an evaluation. We need to, before we get into any relationship, whether it be classes or a board and train or something else, we need to meet the dog and we need to meet the owners. And we call it a solution session. Either people drive up to us if they're far away or Scott will actually go to the house. And then from there, I mean, Scott's closing ratio is great. He has great results. He's a very good people person.
No pressure.
No, I'm just saying though that it really, people take well to it because they like to see just a transformation within that first hour, and they think, oh yeah, they feel like they have hope, and that's what we want to give people is hope.
And I think the reason it's important that I see the dog in person is because quite often, like people don't think about, they might think of one bad behavior they don't like or two, but there's a lot of stuff going on. But they don't remember it necessarily because maybe they don't have a lot of company. So then you come, all of a sudden the dog is like going crazy, like, oh yeah, this is an issue also. This isn't why I called. This isn't why I called you, but this is also an issue.
Maybe a bigger issue.
Yeah. So then
they're all interrelated.
Me being there, and then finally, like maybe he snaps at me. I'm like, have you seen that before? Oh yeah, he does it all the time. But you don't know.
Good information.
You got to be there.
Yeah.
And would it be better for you to go to their house because that's what a problem is, right? He may act different if coming to you.
It depends on, it's nice to go to the house and see the dog in its environment. But if there is, like with your dog, your past dog, a real territorial aggressive component, quite often that dog will be okay away from the house. So I'll say, come, let's meet at the park. Or bring your dog out of the house and let's meet like just outside of your driveway on the street.
Neutral.
Because then quite often the dog, because they'll say, it's the dog's great here, but at home he's a nut. okay, well, I believe you.
Yeah.
I don't want to get bit. Let me establish a little relationship for 10 minutes, and then we'll all go in the house together.
Okay.
That kind of thing. Rather than just walk in like Cesar Millan and start going, and the dog's biting him, and, and it's good TV.
That was our dog. He was much better elsewhere.
Right.
At our house was his territory. Even neighbors would, if somebody went to their house, he would lose his mind.
Right.
He didn't want people going to my neighbor's house. And
Yeah.
I remember the
He owned
lady
the whole
across the
street.
street. Yeah. The lady across the street says, "No, I like it. He protects our house." And I go, "Well, I don't like it." You get way too many people coming to your house.
She's getting free security.
Yes.
You're going to get the lawsuit.
Yes. Yeah.
Sometimes minimizing conflict, though, in those extreme situations is good. So it just depends on the
So
dog.
that's the beginning of, okay, let's see if I'm good for you and you're good for...
Yeah, and we have online training. We do online consults through Canine Healing. So a lot of people have watched the podcast. They'll, call in from across the country, and we'll work with them for an hour or so. But
Like
really,
Zoom?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see the dog and everything?
And see them and work them through some stuff.
But you're having him or the
the
other person
people
do
are,
it.
And Jess will also do demonstrations with her dog in Zoom. So they can see what her dog, this is what I want you to be doing with your dog, so they can see what it looks like.
But the dog can't see it, right?
No, but the dog can't see it. It's all about training the people. The dogs
Yeah.
are easy. I mean, literally, at the end of the day, I hate to say it, but the dogs are the easiest component. We just got to get the people on board. And sometimes it's just coming to terms with the reality of what's going on in the household and getting everybody's heads on the same page. But really, I think that asking for help is the first step, whether it's us or somebody else. If you're having stress with this new year coming up, reaching out, asking for help, and making a change is what is going to be a great first step for everybody.
And how long of a process? Do you want the dog to stay over? Do you want to keep him
It
for a
depends
while?
on the people, and it depends on the dog, and it
Interesting.
depends on the situation.
But it could be as simple as, okay, we're going to have this 1 hour thing, and then I'll see you
Sometimes
next week.
it is. Well,
Sometimes it's just 1 hour, and that's it.
Sometimes
And that's
Scott
it.
goes,
That's
yeah.
it. I've had people write
Imagine they have...
big reviews for me over a 1 hour session.
Somebody has a problem, and 1 hour later, the problem is cured.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel. Not taking
And
advantage
maybe
of-
not necessarily cured, but they have the tools now to address it. They know how to deal with it now, instead of letting it escalate and get all out of hand. And I've had several people write me reviews based on one meeting, and they're like, everything was just amazing
Just
after this one
changed
meeting.
everything.
Yeah, and Scott always says the difference is if you do classes, the majority of the work's in your lap. If the dog's with us, we're
We
dealing
gotta
with
do
the
it.
dog 24/7. It's always training. Where they're just getting more reps, more everything else, and then it's transferring that over to the household. So it totally depends on everybody's setup. We never want to sell anyone on something that they're not comfortable with.
Or they don't need.
Yeah.
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 And dealing with thousands of dogs over all these years, you walk in, like Restaurant Survival and all those shows and stuff, you walk in and you can see the problem right away, as opposed to this is the first time. They never been there before. They never did it.
It's quite often, yeah. And, another thing that's kind of can be a mistake, but a lot of times, with a dog that is real needy, they think, well, this dog needs another dog to keep him company when we're not here.
Two troubles, right?
That's
what
just gonna
happens-
multiply your problems.
Yeah, you can bring in a dog that's pretty decent, a rescue that doesn't have a lot of trouble, and within 2-3 weeks, it's got all the problems the other dog has.
Wow.
Like they don't. A trained dog doesn't make an untrained dog trained.
The other way.
An untrained dog will. It's just like kids. It's like one bad apple. That analogy.
Yeah.
You get a bunch of kids together, teenagers. You get one instigator in there who
They all get bad.
Like Huck Finn.
Yeah.
Let's go out and paint the fence. You paint the fence, or whatever it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. So a lot of this stuff is just like if you have a child and you've been through problems with your child, your dog is a child.
And this happened with me, and there were kids I couldn't hang out with because their parents didn't like me because I was a little troublemaker.
Yeah.
And they're trying to do what's best for their kid, and they said, hey, you can't hang out with that kid
Sure.
anymore. People don't think about that with the dogs. Like, how can we make these dogs get together? I'm like, maybe these two dogs shouldn't be together. I know your girlfriend owns the other dog,
Yeah.
but your girlfriend isn't doing anything to make their behavior better, and that's making your dog worse. So leave your dog home and go and have a cup of coffee with your girlfriend.
Have you ever had to walk in to multiple dogs in one household and you got to deal with multiple?
Yeah, we have one lady, she had 5 or 6 dogs when I got there. One dog was a problem. After we started working with the one dog, she realized, holy smokes,
We better do
3
them all.
out of the 5 are problematic. It's not just this one. And, but you don't
said,
know that until
yeah.
you start.
Like you said, you get there and they say, oh, that happens too. Oh, yeah, that happens too.
Yeah.
Oh, we got many problems you didn't realize. Just the most painful one is the one you're talking about.
And sometimes, like with aggression issues, when you have a pack of 3 to 5 dogs, The one that's being aggressive, when you watch what's going on, they don't want any trouble. They're not really the aggressor. They just have to do that to get another dog out of their space. And the other dog that is maybe quiet, more subtle, but a dick, is going over there and doing something to get the other dog upset. And then the other one is attacking. And they're like, oh, this dog's attacking for no reason. No, it's not no reason.
How about somebody that has a dog and says, everything's fine, I never went through training, I just did it myself? Do they need a...
They wouldn't call us if everything's fine.
No, if they're happy, they don't need... No, you don't always need a professional. And some people have great dog sense. They really do. Every dog does not need training. But if you have a problem, even a small problem, the sooner you get some professional help, the better.
So I have a good business my regular business that I run, everything's good, but I hire professionals to come in and take a look every once in a while. And they give me great stuff.
Another perspective.
And they see things I don't see.
Yeah.
And then they say, well, how's that working out? I go, to be honest with you, actually not all that well. And they said, if you did this, and I do it. And I go, wow, okay, not what I brought you in for, but you saw something I didn't see. We live in our own four walls,
right,
and we don't see things.
Yeah.
And, they're cuddling up to their dog, and they're okay with whatever it is, and it's not okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think every dog needs a certain amount of training, but not everybody needs a professional dog trainer. Because there are some people that never did any training, but like Jess said, they just have good dog sense. The dog, jumps up on the couch, they don't want him there, and they're quick, like, hey, let's go, off the couch. That's training.
Yeah.
They just don't want the dog on the couch. The dog learns, they don't want me on the couch. Whereas other people, the dog's jumping on the couch, barking out the window, running over to this sofa, jumping on that chair, and people, not to be rude, but people just stand there and go, how do we fix this? What's going on? Meanwhile, the dog's just going crazy.
It's a crying kid or a kid jumping up and down in a restaurant or something, and I look at the parent and I go, are they going to do something about this? And they're not going to do anything about it, and that's the same thing happening with dogs.
And oftentimes the kid's just asking for some boundaries. They're just asking for somebody to say, like, hey, just sit down and eat your food, buddy.
Right.
And the dogs
Can we have an adult here, please?
Yeah, no, the dogs are the same way. No, it's true.
There was more than one time where I said, everything to go. We're out of here, because my son was being difficult, and he was just pushing. And I said, I'm not going to sit here for another hour and then buy him ice cream after all this is over. You're friggin' done. Pack it all up. We're leaving.
That's for darn sure. I got to show you guys this awesome gift that Dave got us for Christmas. It's in our thumbnail. It is this awesome painting of dogs smoking cigars.
If that isn't a work of art, if I ever saw it.
It couldn't be any cuter. I love it so much. And we had Dave on today. I mean, obviously, we pre-recorded this. We love you guys, but we're not here on Christmas morning. And we all have loved ones to be with on Christmas Day. But Christmas is a time, and the holidays are a time for being with those you love and being with people that make you feel good. And if you don't have people around, or you don't have friends or family around, your animals can also fill that void. And if for some reason you're sitting out there today and you are alone, go out to Cumberland's and buy something at the store, interact with others. I promise you it will make you feel more whole, because this is definitely a time of year to be with loved ones and get the good energy and the good vibes from those you care about and for those people who lift you up. So,
amen.
Yeah.
If you have a rescue and it's your first Christmas with this new rescue, he might be inclined to pee on your tree. You don't want. That's something. Well, there's some rules here. We're not going to be peeing on that tree. Or they might be starting to pull ornaments off the tree. It's just a novel, weird thing in the middle of the living room all of a sudden.
Step in and do something.
Help them know what's acceptable and what's not.
And if you guys did Christmas with your dogs today, this is a big topic out there. Over 70% of people buy gifts for their pets, and 27% of them spend more than $100 on gifts. So you are not alone. The dogs are all a part of the holidays. We totally get it. Dave, thank you for joining us here today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I can't believe it. 5 years ago, Scott had his very first cigar. It is absolutely crazy. Just so you guys know, in 2025, we are going to be taking a short break. We got to clean some house. We're going to be doing some things. We will be around, but we just wanted to give you guys a heads up. Thank you so much for joining us all of 2024, you guys. We cannot thank you enough. We appreciate you
Dave,
so much.
Thanks for being on the podcast. It was
Yes.
great to see you
My
again.
honor.
Thank you for everything.
My honor.
All right, you guys. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And in the meantime, keep it quirky. Bye, guys.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.